You are listening to Basement Chronicles with Lisa Dublin, episode number 18. Hey, you made it! Welcome to my basement. I'm Lisa Dublin, a health and life coach, and I help professional and executive women to live, lead, and speak with confidence. Because you know what? Developing your confidence and deepening your faith in God is the best formula for an amazing life. So, are you ready? Let's go. Hey, podcast listeners, how are you doing today? I'm so excited about today's podcast because it's going to be a bit different. So as well as, speaking, I also love teaching and training. And the last time I told you about my story, and before that I also told you that I set up the speaking school. And I wanted to give you a taste of what we offer in the speaking school today. And we're going to look at the art of conversation. I presented this training a couple weeks ago to the graduates of the Speak with Confidence program. And I think it will also help you if you are that person perhaps who might be a bit awkward in public. Actually, a lot of people who come through Speak with Confidence find themselves as introverts. I think I am primarily an introvert, although there's a part of me perhaps that has learned to be an ambivert. An ambivert just is able to just manipulate all the situations. That person, yes, still gets their energy from being quiet like I do, but is also able to function very nicely when there are people around, which I can do. It's just that afterwards, I need to disappear. I need to get in my cave. Is there anybody out there who feels like that? But without any further ado, let's get into the art of conversation. How do you show up in a genuine way? In a way that makes you memorable, that is effective both for the people you meet and for you, perhaps to build your brand, to network effectively, all of the things. Let's get right into it. So, why should you be concerned about these things? Let's talk about that first of all. Recently, I realized, okay, you know what? I need to get out here. I need to get out in the community. I live here in Edmonton. Although most of my clients are immigrants and, I conduct a virtual business, I'm very vested in being here in the Black community because this is where my family is and this is where I want to also contribute. And so, I've made the effort to go out there, meet people and, not just stay in my shell in my basement. And to much success, it's a very interesting journey. Meeting people for the first time and just seeing different personalities and that kind of thing, it is way different from sitting at a computer and speaking out there to the world. And I dare say that meeting people one-on-one, bodies in the room, basically, that perhaps is the real thing. So let's get started. Here's something that I realized. Conversation is sometimes the first step to forging bridges and building your network. Conversations at work, conversations on the train, conversations on the plane, conversations perhaps when you are standing on a line and it's a very long line. Sometimes it's a nice thing to just strike up a conversation with people. Has anybody here ever been the person who has avoided doing that? I've been very guilty of that. Like, I'll be on a line perhaps at the airport or so on, and you can see somebody wanting to speak. And I've had to steel myself and say, okay, you know what? I might just meet somebody nice. Let me just reach out, be nice, make eye contact. And I've ended up having some very nice conversations. On the other hand, there are times when I need that quiet time and I unashamedly take it. Okay? I hope you do too. I've realized that there are literally two ways to show up when you are going to attend a networking event, go out to a social event, perhaps with your colleagues. It might be a staff party, staff get-together. Perhaps your business blender is taking place and you have been invited. It might be a women's group. It might be a parenting group, whatever it is. I think even before we get there, there's a certain attitude that we should adopt. Basically, there are two ways that you can enter and decide to enter such a room. Number one, you can pretend to want to be there, or you can decide to simply be genuinely interested in people and just go for the people's factor. Just go to meet people. Just go to enjoy being around other human beings. After all, it wasn't just a couple years ago that we could not meet. We were holed up in our own worlds, unable to go outside and meet, okay? So let us start to appreciate again being able to gather and meet people. I think that's very important. So this first point is this. Have the best attitude. Basically, either you decide to pretend to want to be there, or you can simply be genuinely interested in meeting people. I think number two is a safer, a more sincere way to go, one that will yield more benefits for you because you will not be forcing it. You will want to be there, and so your actions will not be forced. They won't be fake. You will have a better time. That's the first point. Now, to kind of boost that point, I want to read to you a quote that means so much to me that I teach in the Speak with Confidence program to get my students in the right attitude to go out and speak. This guy called Leo Lowndes, who wrote a book on public speaking, he has this quote that goes as follows. There are two kinds of people in life. Those who walk into a room and say, well, here I am. And those who walk in and say, there you are. Can I just repeat that quote for you? There are two kinds of people in life. Those who walk into a room and say, well, here I am. And those who walk in and say, there you are. So basically, we want to be the person who walks into a room and says, there you are. You know why? It takes away the self-consciousness of the moment. It helps you to take the focus off of yourself and to put it on the people, on the persons that you are going to meet. That is huge for confidence. That is huge for helping you to calm your nerves in any situation and to just simply be free and to flow in the moment and not hold back in fear, in self-consciousness, things that can paralyze you and prevent you from giving your best in a social situation. I want to encourage you to be the person with the attitude, there you are, and to go with the enthusiasm that will come from wanting to meet people in the first place. Let's move on to the second point. It's related to the first one, and it is this. Make it all about the other person. The art of conversation, podcast listeners, starts with genuinely wanting to know more about the other person. I have been in situations where people are just falling over your words to get to their point. Falling over, wanting you to hurry up and finish what you're saying so that they can jump in and tout their own horn. And, they forget that they are speaking to another human being who also wants to be acknowledged, and they would do even better in such a situation by laying aside or laying down their ego and simply giving somebody else the gift of their attention. It works wonders. People like to talk about themselves. I've discovered that. And for me, I guess maybe because just being a life coach and all of that, but when I meet people, I usually go for that to find out more about them just out of pure interest. And it just makes it easier, I think, because I understand that so many people never have the time or the space to really just lay out their thoughts and so on. And I think I have lots of time to do that because I'm always talking. I also have a coach, so I get the time that I need, to gather my thoughts, process my thoughts, think of what I'm thinking about. So I feel like I have enough of me and that I can afford to give other people the gift of my time. So part of this focusing on another person in a social situation entails ask them questions. Ask questions that other people might not ask. that really shows that you are listening to the other person. When you are so dialed in that you're carefully listening or actively listening to the point where things come to the fore that would not if you had not been careful with their words. And people appreciate that. I won't forget just recently, I made a good friend because of that kind of attitude. I was at a business blender and this person was talking about a new organization that they had started and it was doing very well. And so beyond just congratulating them about how well the organization was doing, my question was, so what's the reason behind starting it? Like, what was going on in your mind to think that something like this would work? And he stopped and he thought, and it brought up from him, I think, the reasons that he had not even thought about. And they were so interesting and so noble. And I think I bought more into his movement because he was so able to articulate the reasons that he had started in the first place. So ask the questions that other people would not ask. On the other hand, though, don't get too personal too soon. There are certain questions, especially about people's sexuality or sexual preferences, all of those things that really do not belong in a first conversation. At least I think so. What do you think? You do not want to be weird. You don't want to come across as too quirky and too out of the box because it can really make people get their guards up or look at you as creepy. You don't want that. But I think there you can strike a balance between not just being surface or superficial and asking questions that might be too personal. Let's strike a good balance of just caring and noticing and being observant of what the other person is saying. Also, if you find somebody who, perhaps like me, will go straight to asking you about yourself, return the favor and ask that person about themselves, not like a tit for tat, but from a recognition that that person too would perhaps like to be recognized and like to have the time and perhaps the space to say something about himself or herself. So return the favor of the attention. That's what I mean by that point. And lastly, on that point about making it about the other person, be genuine. If you don't understand something, ask. And be genuinely happy for the other person, no matter who it is and how they present themselves. What I like to do is I will be genuine until I can't be anymore, at which point I will graciously bow out of conversations and perhaps move on to the next person in a networking situation. Because you don't have to stay and make it uncomfortable or perhaps even negative. You need to know when you should just simply exit a situation and move graciously to the next person. Here's the last point, and we're going to end. Watch your body language. There's a quote that goes like this: "The way you move is your autobiography in motion." Can I say that again? The way you move is your autobiography in motion. So when somebody is speaking to you, as much as possible, turn your whole body to the speaker as a sign of interest. If there is more than one person speaking in a group, don't focus only on one person, but share the attention. You can have the roving eyes moving from person to person to gather everybody into your conversation, into your answers or your questions. Some people are so unaware and so focused perhaps on one person in the conversation, in the group, that they make it so painfully and awkwardly obvious that they have eyes for nobody else. And it's not a matter of a romantic interest or so. It's just a matter of who is occupying your mind and who in your head is the most important person in the group dynamic. So try to control that. Like if you are in a group speaking, try to make eye contact with everybody when you are making a contribution, and don't just, focus your attention on the person who's asking for the most attention or the person who is thought to be the most important in the group. Let's put it that way. You can control that and, Teachings like this help you to be aware and to take steps to be a little more emotionally intelligent in a speaking and a social situation. Also, here's something else to watch, and I've seen it happen, especially in my part of the world where you find minorities finding themselves in groups where they might be the only ones and people are getting accustomed to them speaking up and being treated as equals still in 2024. Watch and control your reactions when someone speaks. If you feel very kindly and you are very respectful of somebody, usually your body language when that person speaks is very positive. You lean in, you might begin to nod even before the person is finished making their point. You are just that kind of respectful. On the other hand, I have seen the opposite happen, where someone might feel awkward towards somebody and feel almost like, who does that person think they are? And the person who is feeling that prideful attitude, as in, who do you think you are to be on the same stage with me? I find that you're talking too much, like you are overbearing. I don't want to hear what you have to say. The discomfort shows up in the fact that the minute the person under scrutiny begins to speak, you see the listeners begin to shift uncomfortably. Just watch in some situations and notice how people are reacting, particularly initially when someone begins to speak. It's very interesting and it reveals a lot about what is going on in people's heads. For the most part, if there is any negativity to another speaker in your group, in a panel discussion perhaps, or in a social situation, control your body language. By all means, try to aim for neutral. I've seen some people try to mask their negativity by being overweening, by being overly enthusiastic, nodding furiously even before the person, is finished speaking. There's no need for that. Of course, we understand that we do have different attitudes towards people, and sometimes we have to work through it, and sometimes we have not processed those emotions, and we find ourselves in those situations. The most that you can do in such a social situation is to control your body language. Be neutral. Be a canvas upon which the other person can speak clearly, confidently, and with respect. Because every single person deserves the right to be heard, and you can facilitate that right by tempering your body language. Now, there's a lot more to say on this topic, but I'm going to stop here. If you join the Speak with Confidence program, that teaching is already in the portal, and you will be able to enjoy it and learn at your leisure, because all of the videos from the speaking school will be available when people sign up for the Speak with Confidence program. Please go to my website, lisamdublin.com/S_W_C, and you can sign up for the 8th cohort of the Speak with Confidence program. We kick off on the 2nd of May until the 30th of May, and it promises to be a very dynamic and interesting cohort with people from all over the world. That's how we do it. I hope you found this podcast or training valuable, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye. Thank you so much for listening today. Now, I know that you prioritize your growth and success. So if you feel stuck in any area of your life, why don't you consider life coaching? My signature program, How to Get Unstuck Total Transformation, has helped so many professional and executive women to free themselves of limiting beliefs and habits, learn to love and prioritize themselves, set firm boundaries and stick to them, be more confident, move up exponentially in their careers, and become the best versions of themselves. How badly do you want to get unstuck? How badly do you want to be the best version of you? If you desire more, take the first step right now. Go to my website, lisamdublin.com/coaching, and book a consultation with me. Let's talk about your coaching needs, because the life you want is totally possible.